I was thinking when Reb Schneier asked me to speak, I was thinking that this week Parshas Mishpatim might be a better time, speaking about the judicial court system of the Jewish people. It might be a better time for Attorney Deutsch to be speaking, more appropriate. Our resident political analyst and expert. However, I thought that because he's our political expert and analyst, that maybe there's something else in Parshas Mishpatim that doesn't bode so well with politics. That is the negative commandment of Midvar Sheker Tirchak, that one should stay away, very far away, from falsehoods and lies. And perhaps no greater institution than government and politics that promotes lies and falsehoods in the political world. However, next week's Parshas Truma, where it deals about the building of the tabernacle and the building of walls, maybe Attorney Deutsch will be back to tie it in somehow to the current events. Today was Chaf Hei Shvat, which is the yahrzeit of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, his name was from the town of Salant. His name was Rabbi Yisrael Lipkin, from the town of Salant. He passed away in the year 1883. He was known as the founder of what's called the Musar movement. In Hebrew, Tnuat HaMusar. Now, the Musar movement, I looked it up a little today. There's a page on Wikipedia of Musar movement. If you want to check it out, that's how famous it is. I guess you've made it if you made it to Wikipedia. So, the Musar movement was something that he founded during his time, which Musar is the ethical character or moral character about building up interpersonal relationships, basically character refinement. And that was definitely around before his time, but he put it on the map, so to speak. Before that, there were, hundreds of years before he lived, there were books that dealt with these topics, but it was never accepted by the masses. It was learned by those, who wanted to live a life of, in solitude, and they wanted to stay to themselves, but it never was seen as an accepted limud, as an accepted topic, an accepted subject by the masses. And he sort of put it on the map, and our entire system, our entire yeshiva system that we have is based on that. We have this incorporated into our daily, in the yeshiva world of learning ethical development, ethical character, moral character, refining our character, which he said is a life's work. We all know it's a life's work, but sometimes we think of it as for the devout. So we have all, one way or another, been affected by the Musar movement. So on this occasion of his yahrzeit, I just want to say over a story that brings out this point and brings out the essence of his life. Rabbi Yisrael was once traveling from his town of Salant to Vilna, the great city in Lithuania. And in those days, it was not prohibited to smoke on a train. And as surprising as it might seem, Rabbi Yisrael was smoking a cigar on the train. A little bit hard for us to believe, to picture the founder of the Musar movement, sitting, sounds like sitting, feet tilted back, feet up. I don't know if it was like that, but that's what, if we could picture somebody smoking a cigar, that's what we picture it like. So, but it was a different times back then. A much younger person came up to him and started complaining, started yelling. He said, "What's going on over here? You're smelling up the train." So, although it was technically, again, it was permitted for him to do so, but immediately he stopped. He extinguished, he put out his cigar, and he felt so bad about it that he opened up the window of the car that he was sitting in order to air it out. A few minutes later, the same fellow, came over to Rabbi Yisrael complaining that it was too cold. So he went on and on. He was humiliating Rabbi Yisrael in front of, he was just putting up tirade after tirade. And of course, Rabbi Yisrael closed the window. When they arrived in Vilna, this young man noticed that there were hundreds of people who came out to greet Rabbi Yisrael. He obviously didn't know who this fellow was. He was sitting next to him on the train the entire time. But he found out who Rabbi Yisrael was, and he started crying to the rabbi and begging his forgiveness. And Rabbi Yisrael, of course, said, of course, I forgive you. He forgave him on the spot. Then the man started pouring out his heart and telling Rabbi Yisrael about his life and his life's problems and the issues that he was facing. He poured out his heart to him, and he told Rabbi Yisrael that the reason why he came to Vilna, the big city of Vilna, is because he needed a parnas, he needed a livelihood, and he was having a hard time. He didn't have a job. He was, by trade, he was a shochet, a slaughterer. He would slaughter meat to make it in a kosher way. But he needed a slaughterer's license. And in order to receive the slaughterer's license, the shochet's license, he needed what was called a ksav kabbalah. He needed a written rabbinic permission that that he was tested, that he knew the laws, and then the government would give him the license. So Rabbi Yisrael told him that he had a son-in-law. Rabbi Yisrael himself had a son-in-law who lived in Vilna, who was a rabbi, who was an ordained rabbi, and he would be able to give him this ksav kabbalah, this rabbinic permission, in order to make it easier for him to get his license. So he, Rabbi Yisrael, offered to write this fellow, the fellow who embarrassed him, a letter of recommendation for his son-in-law, for Rabbi Yisrael's son-in-law, a letter of recommendation. You could go over to him, go meet him in Vilna, be tested by him, and you'll see my letter of recommendation, and it'll help you get your recommendation and eventually your license. Unfortunately, when he went to the son-in-law, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter's son-in-law, he failed miserably. He just flat out didn't know his stuff. So he returned to Rabbi Yisrael, and again he cried his heart out to Rabbi Yisrael. He said, he told him his tale of woe, and Rabbi Yisrael didn't stop there. Rabbi Yisrael found him tutors, he found him rabbeim, found him teachers to help him out, and some say he even paid for him, and they prepared him for the test for weeks and months. And eventually he was able to pass. And he received his rabbinic permission, and he was able to get his license to be a shochet, to be a slaughterer. When he was able to leave Vilna, he came back to Rabbi Yisrael to thank him. And he said, it was nice enough. It was nice enough that you forgave me for doing what I did to you, for the terrible things that I did to you, that I said to you, that I humiliated you in public, which we know is a terrible thing. But the fact that you sent me to your son-in-law with a letter of recommendation, and you found tutors for me when I failed, and you went all out, and you didn't stop, and why were you so nice to me? You didn't have to do that. So Rabbi Yisrael responded to him. He said, anyone could say the words, I forgive you. That's very easy. Amochel you, I forgive you. But the only way that I felt it was possible to really forgive you, that I felt it was possible to get to like you, was to do something for you. Was to go out of my way and out of my box and out of, maybe even out of character for what you did to me, to get, to be nice to you. And the only way, he told him, to get to like someone is to give. The key to becoming someone's friend is not to take, it's to give. And I wanted my forgiveness to you to be sincere, to be everlasting, and not merely lip service, just to say I forgive you. So this was my golden opportunity. This wasn't your golden opportunity. This was my golden opportunity to really demonstrate that I really forgive you. So this is exactly, in this parsha it says, the Torah tells us, if a person chances upon his enemy's donkey that's overburdened, that's packed with stuff, packed with packages, his enemy's things, where he could very easily say to himself, couldn't have happened to a better person. This person is struggling with the packages on his donkey. It serves him right. It serves him right that he's struggling, he's having a hard time. Nevertheless, the Torah says, you're going to turn away, you're going to cease, you're going not to help him. Azov ta'azov imo, you should surely help him, your enemy. The Torah is telling us this idea. The Torah is telling us this lesson, that you should surely help the one who's your enemy. The only way to overcome our enmity towards somebody else, towards another person, is by in fact helping him. There used to be a bumper sticker, I never saw this, but I heard about it. Love your enemies, it will drive them crazy. But this is not a Torah thought, this is not a Musar idea. The Musar idea is love your enemies, and then they won't be your enemies anymore. That was what the Musar movement was all about. The Musar movement was about the lifetime's work to teach people how to overcome their natural inclinations and to live up to the standards of that a man lives in the image of God.